It wasn't until, I want to say, '89, probably mid-'89, that I was contacted by Carolco. See, I didn't have the rights to do a sequel. The rights got snapped up by Carolco. They called me up and said, you know, we've got this thing. Our first choice would be to have you write and direct it. And I said, okay, make me an offer. And it was a very credible offer. And so I said, all right, you've got my attention. Now let me go back and see if I wrote anything down for a sequel. No, I think I said, yeah, I've got a fantastic idea. You guys are going to love it. You know, then I went off and wrote the idea. Well, I think the seeds of the sequel are all in the first film. You know, you've got a future war, you've got this mythic character that you've heard so much about. John Connor saved the human race, taught them how to fight back, overthrew the machines, led the resistance, all this stuff. How could you not tell that story? But let's not tell the story in the future. Let's not see all that stuff, all that epic heroic stuff. Let's see the guy at the age of 10. And what he's like then, and what his life must have been like with this mother who keeps telling him that he's going to be this kind of war messiah figure in the future, and how that messes with his head, how it messes with her head, you know, and how that strains the family bonds. You know, one of my favorite moments in the film is when they escape from the mental hospital. John's gone there to rescue her. She hugs him, which is all he wants, and then he realizes in the middle of the hug that she's not hugging him. She's checking him for injuries. And she's become very sort of cold and robotic herself in executing her mission, which is to keep him alive and train him to be the thing he needs to be to save all of humanity. So she's carrying this enormous burden, and it's really impacting her ability to just function as a mother emotionally. And to me, the Terminator, both the first film and the second film, are really more about the dehumanizing effect of technology and a technical society on humans, where, you know, we take on these roles, whether it's a psychologist, you know, who doesn't listen to the patient, whether it's a cop, an authority figure, soldier, whatever. You see what I mean? Where people, you know, lose their humanity and their empathy. Because ultimately, at the end of it all, Terminator is about, the Terminator character is representative of a complete lack of human affect. Well, Arnold was the perfect guy to play the Terminator, and we all see why after the fact. It wasn't necessarily a no-brainer at the time. Arnold had been proposed to me by the head of Orion to play Kyle Reese, Michael Biehn's character, and I didn't see that. To me, that didn't work as a visual. Why he's perfect? He's iconic, obviously. Nobody quite looks like him. He suggests a kind of implacable strength. You know, he's just going to steamroll through everything. Even just standing there, you get that sense about him. And it's a combination, I think, of who he is, his willfulness, his appearance, and all of that. And he, you know, I mean, it was a perfect fit. It was an absolutely perfect fit between role and actor. My first call was to Linda, you know, because as the survivor at the end of the first film, it all hinged on her and her relationship with her son and everything else. I called Linda. She was on some production someplace, and she said, yeah, in principle, I'm in, absolutely, but make me crazy. I want to be crazy. And I said, okay, that's actually interesting, sure. So she wanted to do something. She didn't want to be, you know, she didn't want to be the little waitress that she played the first time. She wanted something else, you know, and so one thing led to another. I just riffed on that, started her in a mental hospital. That was my first note. Okay, Sarah's in a mental hospital. She knows there's going to be a nuclear war. She knows that billions of people are going to die. It drives her crazy. You know, that makes sense. Or at least she says things that people interpret as crazy. And I think you're left throughout the film to decide for yourself exactly how crazy she really is. Yeah, so a quarter of a century later, I'm actually still pretty proud of the film for the way it looks. I think it holds up. I think it's still of a level. You know, I look at the steel in the steel mill and I think, man, it would be so easy. It'd be dead easy to do that with CG liquid steel. It would have the right glow, the right weight, viscosity, all that. We didn't have the means to do that back then. I think we had 42 computer-generated shots in Terminator 2, and we had to be very sparing with those. And you'll notice that there are a lot of Stan Winston gag heads and gag hands, meaning, you know, they're physical construction, whether they're chrome-plated plastic or fiberglass or rubber, or chrome-plated rubber heads that kind of open up and do this, you know, as opposed to CG. Now you do it all CG. Well, first of all, for a lot of people watching Terminator 2 now in 3D on a theatrical re-release, it'll just be the thrill of seeing it in a movie theater. I mean, we're talking about 25 years later. So a lot of fans of the movie weren't even born when it was made, and a lot of them that were, you know, teens or 20-somethings at the time have gotten to a point in their life that's probably more sedentary and they don't go to the movies as much, you know. So people know it from DVD, from Blu-ray. You know, so here's a chance to put it back, an excuse to go to the theater and see it. And I think that's enough of a reason. But on top of that, of course, you've got the fact that it's in 3D. And there's obviously depth, but there's a lucidity to it. The images feel more real in 3D. You really feel like you're there. All the things that I love about 3D.